Welcome back. You're watching this special broadcast where we're looking at high-resolution satellite imagery to give you a sense of where the Chinese army is and whether or not they're on territory that India claims. We focused in the first part of this broadcast on Galwan. I now want to focus on what's happening in the Pangong area. And I want to welcome our guests once again, starting with Colonel Dini. He commanded an infantry battalion in the Pangong lake area, which you see behind me. He can give us a sense of where his patrol parties went up till and compare that with the ground situation. We've got Nitin Gokhale, Editor-in-Chief of Stratpost Global. Colonel Vinayak Bhatt is the leading satellite imagery expert. Abhijit Mitra Iyer is with the Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies. Colonel Ajay Shukla is a leading defense expert. So I want to play out images of the Pangong Lake. This is just a Google Earth image so that you have a broad sense of the lake. We control 1/3 of the lake. The Chinese control 2/3. This is where the current site of confrontation is, and that's where we're about to take you. It's between finger 4 and finger 8. Now, just pull out a bit so that you can see this. The Indian, pull out further. This area marked out in blue is the Indian area. We've got a post in finger 3. We have a base beyond that as well. Then there's a Kacha Rasta going up to finger 4. What the Chinese have done is they've come up and fortified finger 4 substantially, and I'll show you some satellite images where this becomes very clear. Earlier, Indian patrol parties used to go up till finger 8. In fact, if you see the Indian claim line, it runs along finger 8. Therefore, it is 100% the belief of everyone in the Indian Army that our claim runs till finger 8, and the Chinese are currently sitting on finger 4. And how do we know the Chinese are sitting on finger 4? I'll just show you the next picture. This is put out by an Australian satellite imagery expert, Nathan Ruser, in his piece that he put out. Here, he's marked out the Chinese army positions. This is finger 4, and you can see the intensity of the deployment, and our guests can tell us what they think this deployment is. But it's a massive deployment, not just in the beach area, just abutting the lake, but also on the spurs. Going up, they've got, and you've got Indian deployment also on the other side, but there's a massive Chinese deployment on finger 4 and between finger 4 and finger 8. Here you can see it even closer. So they have a boat shed. In fact, they've got 2 boat sheds here for their high-speed patrol boats. Here they've built up new positions along the lake and just going up the mountain, and massive deployment right on finger 4, which is their line, which is their claim line. But the Indians claim that they actually go up till finger 8. Now, can I just show you this other position where you can see the same thing? This is where the clash took place in 2017. You've got the Indian positions on this side. You've got a Kacha Rasta that comes all the way up till here. And then you've got Indian positions here. But you can see there's massive Chinese deployment between finger 4 and finger 8. So, Colonel Dini, I want to come to you first. Can you explain what you make of this current controversy where the Chinese are sitting, and you can see them very clearly in these maps that we are putting out? And how does this compare with how things were when you were in this area in 2017-18 and were the commanding officer of the infantry battalion, the Colonel Dini?
Thank you, Rahul. Firstly, let me say that, of course, this is a drastic change in status quo by the Chinese. There's no doubt in that. And this particular area, as you rightly mentioned, there's a dispute in perceptions between finger 4 and finger 8. We go up till finger 8 and they come up till finger 4. So that has been the trend throughout. And as I always believe that this particular 40 days odd conflict, the trigger was from Pangong itself. Something happened there due to which there was a violence there. Then it was a counter violence happened there. And then this whole thing, went out of control into other places also. So after that, what we see now is definitely they have placed themselves between finger 4 and finger 8. There's no doubt. The only issue is that similar activities were done by the Chinese before also, but in a much lower scale. So it is not that this is the first time this is happening. This area is always disputed. This is one of the most disputed area along the entire stretch of LAC. So this is not a surprise that how has the Chinese come here? There's point of contention always there. Now we must remember 2-3 things. The Chinese constructed this road in 1999 when the Kargil was on and outputs were less. So the road was constructed by them from Sirjab to finger 8 and finger 4. So they carry out patrolling on vehicles, and as you rightly mentioned, there's a kacha track in between finger 3 and finger 4. So we have to take the foot patrol and we go towards finger 8 on foot. So the Chinese always they show a lot of resistance that when we go towards finger 8. But there are ways and means by which we used to reach finger 8. It used to at times scuffles used to take place, but still that process of finger 8 and going up to finger 8 was on. In case they stopped us, we also used to stop them in front of finger 4. So there's no doubt on that. But this particular time, two things have happened. One is the scale of violence which we are seeing was really surprising that this kind of violence has taken place in Pangong area. And secondly, also the kind of the tent which we are seeing now, it has been, if I can put it, scattered across the entire stretch without any kind of.
So Nitin Gokhale, now the problem seems to be that the government has taken such a strident position on there being no incursion into Indian soil, that this idea that we've lost from finger 4 to finger 8, at least at this moment, hopefully status quo ante will be restored, but at this moment we are not physically in control of area which we used to patrol up to, which is obvious to anyone who looks at these satellite pictures but hasn't been accepted by the government in public. What are you making of the reality and the kind of communication we're hearing? Nitin Gokhale.
So Rahul, from day one I've been saying this, that the main problem is not in Galwan or in Hot Springs. While they've amassed a large number of troops on their side of the border, India has done mirror deployment there. The main problem is at the Pangong and at that finger 4, finger 8 area. And certainly, like as Colonel Dini has said, there is a status quo change that has been sought to be done. But remember that that area is one of those 23 spots which are called areas of differing perception in the parlance between India and China. In the LAC discussions, these are called ADPs, areas of differing perceptions. Now, because the LAC is neither delineated nor demarcated, there are these 23 areas across the LAC in Arunachal Pradesh and in Ladakh especially, where these problems occur from time to time. So no doubt that they are sitting on what India considers its own soil, but they consider also their soil. So it's not settled. So in a way, it's called overlapping areas.
Overlapping areas, Colonel Shukla, differing perception. Yes, the Chinese are on territory which we used to patrol, but it never really was ours in the sense it wasn't decided that this was ours. This is what we are hearing from the likes of Nitin Gokhale. What are you making of what the government said so far and the reality on the ground? Ajay Shukla.
First of all, the reality on the ground has already been adequately conveyed by Colonel Dini. In simple terms, it is that the Chinese have done what they have never done before, which is to physically occupy the area up to finger 8, to stay there, to beat up any Indian troops that come try to get into that area, and to basically deny us access to our patrolling point, which we have patrolled since decades. So this is, by saying that this is a troubled area and this is so on and so forth, you cannot wash away or whitewash the seriousness of what has happened, nor am I sort of able to understand why anybody sitting on Indian territory is wanting to whitewash the seriousness of what is happening, given that the Chinese have come and sat down on our territory and we are saying, no, it's not really our territory, it's an area of differing perceptions.
Is there a sense of denial?
Rahul, in 2013, Rahul, they came in 19 kilometers and sat at Depsang for 21 days. That was 19 kilometers. This is something that, as I said, I keep saying that keeps happening.
Okay, so now, Abhijit Iyer, is the government in denial? Because Ajay Shukla is right. If they're sitting on our land, it's obvious, nobody can deny it. But yet there's been no public admission that the Chinese are sitting. Yeah, I know. No, Nitin Gokhale is not denying it, but there hasn't been a public admission that the Chinese are on our territory. It's become like a political hot potato and the government's not willing to accept that, yes, they are on our land which we used to patrol. It's as obvious as daylight. Abhijit Iyer.
Let me see that particular foxhole point, finger 4. It's had a road that the Chinese built in 1999, and they have in parts asphalted it over since 2004 at least, that we can tell. Now, they also have a very sophisticated radar-equipped base at the naval base with a radar to look over the entire Pangong at Finger 6. Now, my question is, what do you count a road and a radar-equipped base as? Is that infrastructure or not? Is infrastructure ground control or not? So if they built it in 1999, I don't know why we're saying 21 years down the line when they've added a few more tents, and those are durable tents, but they are tents, why we're saying now that control is lost. I mean, give me a definition of what ground control is. And what
no, but
does
Colonel Dini says far after
imply?
1999, in 2017-18, he himself was patrolling up till Finger 8. Way beyond Finger 6.
And here's the point, nothing's preventing you from patrolling even now.
I just showed you the kind of build-up the Chinese have done. They're physically stopping you from going.
Absolutely, but remember there's also a build-up. No, hang on. There's also a build-up on our side. Don't forget that.
No, of course.
They used to come in up to Finger 2 at some points, and now they're no longer able to do that. They are also stopped at Finger 4. Okay, it's just a formalization of a loss we went in. Now, this thing of saying patrols, remember, are not control. This is like saying that the Indian Army did not control up to Finger 4 where we had a base. We have a base there, we controlled up to Finger 4.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but patrols do not constitute, patrols happen for a reason.
I'm out of time.
You go in and you come out.
Okay,
if you want control, you set up infrastructure there.
Okay, so I'm out of time. I've also lost that video link, unfortunately, with Colonel Ajay Shukla. We never got to Hot Springs. A lot of our time was spent in the Galwan Valley and in Pangong. So this is just reason for me to come back again. Maybe over the weekend and do another show where we can look at this in greater detail. But what we were able to do over the last 1 hour is give you some context, visual reference and context about the reality on the ground, which cannot be disputed no matter which side of the political divide you're on. And as I'm saying again and again, remember, the enemy is on the other side of the line of control. That's the guy we have to see. That's the enemy we have to take down. That's the enemy we have to fight. But for the time being, for coming on our broadcast and sharing your varying perceptions about the situation on the ground, Nitin Gokhale, Abhijit Iyer, Colonel Vinayak Bhatt, Colonel Ajay Shukla, Gaurav Sawant, thank you very much. We're slipping into a break. We'll have more for you when we come back on the other side. Stay with us. Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kanwal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.